It's like when you check your phone in a movie and then you have to check it again. And then you have to check it again because every time you check it to make sure it's on silent, even though it's never, it's like never actually on a ringer for me. It's always on silent. But I'm like, what if this is the one time that my ringer's on and I don't check it and it goes off? And then I check it and I'm like, oh God, what if I just turned it on even though it was off? And I have to do that in like a spiral for like 15 minutes, very Adrian Monk style.
I usually turn it on and then turn it off to be on the safe side.
I can't trust it because I'm like, what if my fat thumb tapped it too many times and I thought it was off, but I turned it back on again? Like I went on, off, on, off, on.
I have an iPhone, so like it's just a little, like a button on the side, and then I just click it up or down. And then I push this down all the way. I'm sorry.
It's fine. My phone still has a headphone jack. Suck on them apples, iPhone.
This wasn't an endorsement or anything. It was just like I haven't dealt with that in so long because all of my iPhones have had it. I'm sure the newer iPhones might be different, but all of my iPhones have had the little like click button on the side.
Yeah, no, my Android just has a volume up and down. But I go like into the actual like swipe down settings at the top and tap the like on, mute, off like thing where it's like I always have it on the middle one so it vibrates if I need it to like ring. But like even actually I don't even do that. It's usually on actual silent, like mute with no vibration except for my alarms. So I don't know why I always think that it's gonna be on, but I just convince myself every time.
And I just laugh because it's just because we're millennials. Like, we dealt with all of the repercussions of getting, like, yelled at in the movie theaters in our teens when we had newly, like, cell phones.
Yeah. It's, like, wild to me that we spent money for ringtones.
Yeah.
Now I never have my phone ringer on.
No.
And now, like, people, it's, like, a thing to, like, have your phone ringer on again. Why? The kids are doing it. It's dumb. And they all have, like, the flashing light, too, to alert them that their, like, texts are coming in. It, like, flashes your flashlight on the back.
You guys can't see it, but my face is one of, I don't know, like, disgust, horror.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Anyway, that's how I feel every time we start recording, because I hit record, and then we check our mics, and then I don't trust it, so I stop it, and I play it back, and then I hit record again, but I always think that in that time between when we played it back and when I hit record again, that somehow all of our settings have magically changed and it's not going to work the second time.
I don't usually feel that way. I'm just usually worried about the speaker, and then as soon as you play it back, I'm like, yeah, we're okay. And then that's...
Except at the beginning of this one when you were salty about how crisp my burp was. And not our actual conversation.
It doesn't help. We were both finagling with our microphones at that point, too.
Yeah. It's all right, listeners. I'm drinking a Waterloo, so there'll be plenty more burps for you to enjoy.
Some casual ASMR again for our dear listeners.
The worst ASMR possible. It's just me drinking a carbonated beverage.
I was telling my husband not too long ago, we were talking about so there used to be a health museum, and at the health museum, it was in...
Remember this?
Yeah, and there was a giant tooth in the health museum. Yeah. Like you could walk through. Yeah, we had a membership there, and like a good chunk of my childhood.
You just unlocked a memory. Like I forgot about the health museum.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't know why they got rid of it.
I did like a sleepover, an overnight at the health museum for school.
I wish.
And Girl Scouts, I think.
It was really cool. And then, do you remember there was like a tower and you could like lift things and sniff them?
Yes.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was also like a keyboard there, and then they moved it to COSI in Columbus, and the keyboard, instead of making like piano noises, it made human bodily function noises. So it was like burps and farts and sneezes and like coughs. And
that's like my dream.
Yeah, it was just all bodily function noises. And so just talking about that reminded me of... prior to getting here to record today, just came from a weekend away that involved both a bachelorette party and
time with boyfriend, and boyfriend and I somehow got on the topic of farts, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I will always laugh. If I hear a fart or anything that even sounds like it, I will lose my shit because I think they're so funny. I know that's not attractive. Deal with it.
Is it a matter of attraction, or is it just a matter of like, it's just human stuff, man, you know? Everybody
but
does it.
I'm gonna be 98 years old in my wheelchair at the retirement community, and I'm gonna rip one, and then I'm gonna like laugh, like, and like my old man laugh, where it's like it's gonna be that kind of laugh. And then like I'll be 98, so I'll probably accidentally pee myself while I'm laughing, but still.
Listen, just have a baby.
I couldn't possibly. I'm so full.
It is
she says as she eats a grape.
I learned a fun fact, and I would like to share it. Speaking of like small children, I follow a pediatrician, and they were saying different facts about allergies, and one of their facts was there's a theory that evolutionarily small children will have really long eyelashes, and like that's a reason why we have really long eyelashes is it evolves from allergies. So if you're more prone to allergies, theoretically you may have longer eyelashes than people who aren't, because your eyelashes help block dander and all that fun stuff out of your eyes.
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting because I deal with allergies in my family, and there are some long eyelashes, and I went, is that possibly the reason why?
I don't really have seasonal allergies. I have food allergies. But like I have long eyelashes to the point where I had like that gross interaction with the state trooper.
That's true. They said it was also atopic allergies too. So not just like dander, like it's just an evolutionary trait. Your body's like,
got it.
Are you susceptible genetically to allergies? Let's give you long eyelashes.
Your DNA is just like, weak ass, have these long eyelashes.
Oh God.
This has been Anatomy Facts with Beth and Britta. Thanks for listening. Give us money. Tune in next week.
I also learned something else about evolutionary traits, but it was about dandelions, not about eyelashes.
Oh.
So dandelions, learned this from the Black Forager on Instagram. Dandelions have evolved so that they will grow taller if fields go uncut, because they have essentially that survival of like, I'm not gonna get cut down by a lawnmower, haha. And then they grow shorter on lawns that are like well cared for and manicured, because they're trying to avoid getting mowed. So they like know, like as they're growing, like they figure out how often it gets mowed and grow around that.
So the happening is real.
I haven't seen The Happening, so I don't know.
Interesting. I know that like this thing that I have is an evolutionary trait. If you touch your pinky to your thumb and you have that like tendon that pops out.
Oh, okay. I do. What is this? What is this helpful for?
It's like a hanging on. Like most people don't have that.
What?
Yeah, it's like a hang-on evolutionary trait. I have it on both wrists. It's from like when we were, like more we were closer to the folks we evolved from in the olden days, and they were more like apt to have to like climb up trees to like scavenge food or hide from like predator animals.
What you're telling me is
and
maybe I have that trait and I just haven't used it well.
I don't know. But yeah,
I'm a terrible climber. Like rock climbing, like for any school function, if I had to do rock climbing, I was like, I'm done. I have no upper body strength. Like the predators would have gotten me already.
Yeah. I mean, climbing isn't all upper body though.
guess there's some lower body in there, but like in terms of just grabbing and hauling myself up, I'm like, it ain't happening. I don't know. I haven't done it under duress though. That might be different. If I had a predator chasing after me and I was hauling myself, maybe I would make it.
If this tendon appears in your wrist when you hold your thumb and little finger together, you have a vestigial muscle called the palmaris longus in your arm that helped our evolutionary ancestors climb trees. Because humans have no need for it now, 15% of people don't have it.
Interesting. I was also told at one point when I was doing biology that your skull is rounder. Like humans have rounder skulls than like obviously Homo erectus or Neanderthals and stuff like that, and mine's flatter because you can measure it. They were like, that's not as evolved. Like, great. Ain't DNA weird? It's wild.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here to talk about though. We had other spookier things to talk about besides DNA.
I feel like DNA sort of somehow weirdly ties into this. I don't know how.
It might. I was going to say, I mean, it definitely ties into like climbing and stuff like that and trying to escape predators. So,
yeah.
I wonder if those characters had this like weird evolutionary trait. Now I'm going to have to show pictures on like our social media accounts because our listeners will be like, what?
We'll just post an extra like Instagram post of just like shit that makes no sense, completely out of context. It'll just be pictures and it'll just be like IYKYK and like an eyeball.
I mean, John Cena just gets to post anything and he's got hundreds of thousands of people comment on his like pictures. I'm like, get out of here, John Cena. And I'm John Cena. I'm going to declare Reddit. I'm going to post things forever without any context, without any additional information. Deal with it. Like, I overshare. It would be nice to be that way. You know how long it would take us to upload things? 2 seconds. Welcome to the Lake Erie Library. Today, we are going to be talking about people being chased by a predator, at least. And we're posting this in a pretty timely fashion. So, you know, if you find yourself out on a rural road and you see a truck that's like a kind of old looking beat up truck being an asshole to you, maybe just pull over. Maybe
don't. Depending on where you are, that might be a bad idea.
Yeah, but maybe just let the truck pass you.
Also, if they have a vanity license plate, please consider all meanings of what it stands for.
Yeah.
Like do the New York Times crossword puzzle. Learn how they use all meanings of words.
And then
then look for all of them.
Yeah, and I would also say like maybe detour through like towns, actual towns. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all fair things to say as we're heading into summer and we're heading into kind of what I would call America's driving season. I mean, all seasons are driving seasons, but I feel like late spring into summer is really when people are like, let's go on a road trip. Or us Midwesterners, let's drive to like somewhere 5 states away. It's only 10 hours. We can do it. It's fine. That's just a trip for us. That's not even a horrible, terrible trip. No, it's fine. We can handle it. Anyways. Today we're going to talk about the film Jeepers Creepers. This is from 2001, and we chose it purposely because the film is set during the month of May.
Well, it's not specifically in May. It is spring break that they're driving, but it is spring. And yeah, 2001. This is currently 2024.
It's fine. It's, you know what, I just actually, speaking of time and looking at movies, The Day After Tomorrow was on TV recently, and I was like, oh my god, Jake Gyllenhaal looks like a baby. How old is this movie? Because I definitely remember watching it in high school, and it was only a couple years old. Oh it's 20 years old. It's 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 years old. Emmy Rossum's like a baby in it. Dennis Quaid's, not political yet. I mean, he is, but he's like, he plays a scientist. It's like, climate change is real. We have to face it. Like,
right.
I was like, it's fine. I'm just evolving into dust as we speak.
Yeah, but the date of the year particularly becomes important later in this discussion. We can't. I was trying to bury the lead, but it got brought up early, so
sorry.
Just keep that in mind. We'll get to it later.
Yep. So as always with our movie discussions, we will be giving you some background, some production stuff, and then we will, I guess, maybe whistle to you.
I have to drink a lot more of that Waterloo.
We'll whistle to you when we're getting ready to like spoil it and give like hot takes, hard facts of how we felt about the movie.
Don't make me sing.
Oh God, we're like both here, but I don't think we're both here mentally.
What are you talking about? I am on my A game today.
I won't lie, I'm not. I'm on my B game, edging into B- game. I really need a date of like sleep.
I hear that.
Sleep.
I hear that. I think my body has just accepted that we're dying. And it's like, oh, we're not going to get more than 3 hours of sleep a night. That's fine. I'll figure it out. What can we power down to keep going? Great. We're going to set down these systems in this order to maintain the power core.
I didn't realize how much I had like been moving around yesterday and just like until I woke up this morning, and I remember like I think my legs or something just went and I went, cool. I'm gonna go do some yard work now. Mm-hmm. It's fine. It's gonna feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let's talk about Jeepers Creepers.
Okay.
Lighter subjects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who needs to talk about your own mortality when we can just talk about movie mortality? I feel like we should just talk about the director and get that out of the way.
Okay.
So this movie was directed by Victor Salva. He actually directed the first 3. I didn't realize there were so many Jeepers Creepers.
There's
films.
4 total.
I only watched the first one because I assumed that's what we were talking about.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the others though?
I have not.
So I actually like the second one almost as much as I like the first one. I can't remember anything about the third one, even though I've seen it, so that speaks for itself, and I refuse to see the reboot. So I don't know anything about the reboot, but yeah. So Victor Salva directed the first 3 of them. He also, I think, helped write them, so they are continuous. They are pretty continuous in terms of like if you're gonna watch a horror film franchise, these ones will have at least like continuity that like maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't have, or Halloween at this point. I don't want to talk about that. Victor Salva is he is a sex offender. He is a lifelong sex offender. And he is a self-described protege of Francis Ford Coppola. Prior to kind of Jeepers Creepers is not his first film, but I would say that was like his first super successful film. But he in 1988 was convicted of sexual misconduct with one of Clown House's, which was a film he's did underage stars who was 12 years old at the time. He was convicted of sexual assault for them. And then he also had commercial videotapes and magazines containing child pornography. So he sexually explicit photos of children.
Yes.
Pornography implies consent.
Thank you.
So we're going to call it what it is.
So he was sentenced to 3 years in a state prison, of which he served 15 months and a lifetime registration as a sex offender, and he completed his parole in 1992. So saying that, I don't remember at the time of the movie coming out that even being a thing discussed. And really, I don't remember the consequent movies, like it being discussed. It wasn't really until I feel like we societally have kind of taken a step back and looking, Jesus.
Taking a step back and looking at your misdeeds and judging you for them.
But I really feel like it hasn't been until more recent years, like I would say the last decade or so, where we have seen, like, examined these things and like, how do you separate the art from the artist? So when Jeepers Creepers came out, I was like too little to see it. My mom was like, no, you're not allowed to see that.
I saw it.
But afterwards it was just like, and then I think later on I was like, I should see that. And then I was like, well, I'm not missing a whole lot. And then knowing that now, did it taint the movie for me? Probably a little bit. There was probably things that I had issue with. It's like, how much does that influence? It's hard to say, right? So you're trying to separate the art from the artist, and that's what we are trying to do today. That's not to say that, I have a hard time with him as a director, because I just feel like, there's no penance for kind of what he has done, if that makes sense. And I feel like his victim, actually, they had protests against his films, including the boycott of powder organized by his victim. Apparently this was publicized in 2006, but I really don't remember this being publicized.
I don't either.
Or if it was, that decade of the 2000s was so many things were swept under the rug that shouldn't have been swept under the rug, and then the things that people cared about were like Britney Spears and shaving her head and like, oh my God, Jessica Simpson, she is wearing what? How dare her? So that was the stuff that, like, I feel like was more heavily focused on. So I don't remember this stuff coming out. But then I think once I did read about it, it was not like inclined. But then when you were like, we should do it because of it, I was like, all right, I'll take a crack at it. And then I will give my thoughts later. I have quite a few thoughts about this film.
Okay.
There
is a somewhat real life event that happened in Michigan in 1990 that some people believe the plot of this is like very loosely inspired by it. What happened was there was a brother and sister named Ray and Marie Thornton who witnessed someone who had like driven by them, like he was driving erratically, and so they recognized his car. They saw him getting rid of a blood-soaked blanket behind an abandoned schoolhouse. He saw them, he tailgated them for 2 miles, and after he drove off, they went back to the schoolhouse to investigate, and they found the blanket, and they reported him to the police. So this led to a manhunt for the man that they saw dumping this. There's actually an Unsolved Mysteries episode about it. And the following day, this man who allegedly was, dumping this bloody blanket, he completed suicide during a shootout with the police in Mississippi.
Look, I'm not saying they lied about the blanket or anything, but did the police confirm, like, oh yeah, that's blood, that's human blood, that's really suspicious? Or was the guy just like terrified of the law?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's all highly sus.
So that's a thing that happened. Salva, this was brought up to him, and he said the beginning of the movie was based on a true story that I was told, only it was an elderly couple, and they went back to this pipe to see what he was throwing down there, and I thought that was a tremendously brave thing to do. But I also remember when I heard it thinking, if that was a movie, if they went back, I would be on the edge of my seat. So he admits that he was inspired by a story, but it was like, a friend of a friend of a friend said this happened kind of thing.
I mean, there is a good decade between when these events happened, when the real life event happened, and when this movie came out. it is very possible that it happened in Michigan.
Yes.
And, yeah. So it's very possible a friend of a friend of a friend
Yeah.
told you that.
He also, typically when writing screenplays, he would take around 6 months to write it. He wrote this in 1 month. And he said that he wanted the killer / creature type entity in this movie to kill characters that were male because, and this is a direct quote, he was very tired of seeing women slaughtered and raped in cinema. So, like, all right, you have some questionable things going on in your history, but I respect that opinion at least. He also, when watching this, you'll notice that there are several red herrings written into the script that are going to mislead you. You for sure think someone is going to die, and then it might not be that person. So there was also a 20-page third act, which eventually got scrapped during production, so it was longer. Which we can maybe talk about that once we get into the actual spoilery parts of like what would have been different. They had a budget cut of like $1 million during production, so they're like, we just got to remove this and rewrite the script. And so because of this, the 2 stars of the film, Gina Philips and Justin Long, were allowed to improvise most of their scenes during the third act because there wasn't much of a script for it. And then some of the scenes that got cut from the script were used in the sequel Jeepers Creepers 2. He, the director, writer, wanted the moment of the film to be the reveal of the killer and like the information you get about them in that moment. So he intentionally kept this character very mysterious throughout the first half, which to me is what works for this, because I always say the worst part of this movie is when you finally get a good look at them. And I'm like, oh, this is dumb.
Yeah. But that's in any, like,
yeah,
that's what makes Jaws works. That's what that's what makes Jurassic Park work. Like, honestly, like, the dinosaurs are cool, but what makes it work really well is when you don't see the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but you know it's right outside that car and it's gonna mess you up. Like, the payoff is worth it, usually. The tension leading up to that is worth it. I'll talk about it later. I don't want to give it away.
So the killer character was specifically written for Lance Henriksen.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Lance Henriksen, especially because he was in Pumpkinhead, so he's got that, like, lineage of horror behind him, and aliens, like, you know. Yeah,
so he dropped out of the project, and then Jonathan Breck ended up playing this character, and he actually, like, was really scared of horror movies, and he's like, I'm gonna go, like, audition for this, and I'm gonna be in one. Which actually makes sense. Like, if you are making it and you're seeing the behind the scenes part of it, like maybe it becomes less scary for you.
Yeah, I have to be drenched in corn syrup for 6 hours as we film this fake blood. Yeah, I'm not scared anymore. I feel like it would be the type of thing where, like, especially in like a gory scene or something like that, where you like you're seeing it up close and personal, and like it stops looking like gore because like you've seen it without the like lighting and stuff on it, and you're like, it's just styrofoam with some paint on it. Okay.
So the principal photography began in August of 2000 in Central Florida. I used to live in Central Florida. And really only took about 2 months down there. The
is Central Florida that rural?
Parts of it are.
Okay.
So they, like, the church was in Ocala. My Aunt Miyako lived in Ocala. Okay. I've been there before. I have probably, like, driven past that film site. There's, like, an abandoned high school in Reddick that they used as a police station. There's a meat packing factory that was also in Ocala. It doesn't exist anymore. They demolished it since then. That's like in the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that sucked about this is August in Florida sucks. It is an armpit every day. So they were mostly outside. They're during the summer. There were heat waves with high temperatures. They were in like confined spaces doing a lot of this filming. They had a very low budget. So the art department's cafeteria was used during filming, and like they made a few fake bodies that they had to keep like reusing for things in this.
You know, now that you're telling me this all makes a lot of sense to me. I like went into it very cold. Like I literally, if I didn't even know what the creeper like looked like prior to watching this, so I went into this as cold as possible. I didn't even realize Justin Long was in it.
Yeah,
and I was like, that guy. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing here? And now you're telling me all this. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So during filming, Gina and Justin, the lead actors, intentionally would like not interact with Breck, who played the creeper, because they didn't want to like form like a friendship and like humanize him. So this kind of like is a benefit. Like they found him much more scary during filming when they were faced with like that character. So it kind of comes through. The creeper was designed by storyboard artist Brad Parker. The costume was created by Brian Pennicus from Makeup and Monsters. The truck used in this is a 1941 Chevy Co., which was a flatbed truck, and it had its back section created entirely by production designer Stephen Legler. And it broke down a lot during the filming of this because it had a really old engine. I do think one thing that's really important is that the song Jeepers Creepers is featured heavily in this. And it is like one of those old-timey songs that like it's a Johnny Mercer song, and you know it's one of those things that's like really innocent, and then like you hear it out of context and you're like, oh my god, that's terrifying. Like children singing lullabies is always inherently creepy, but like lullabies are not creepy. And so this Jeepers Creepers was from like the 1930s. Johnny Mercer wrote it. It was written for the movie Going Places. Louis Armstrong did a recording of it, which like I can hear it in my head. He's got such a distinctive voice. Yes. But the lyrics came from, well, the title came from a Henry Fonda line in a movie, and the lyrics are, Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Which the rest of the song is like pretty standard 1930s jazz. Yeah. But yeah, that like chorus is so creepy out of context.
Well, and it makes you wonder like Jeepers Creepers, like what do you mean by that phrase? Like what, you know?
Is it like Jinkies, mister? Jeepers Creepers.
Right. I guess we could look that up and see. I don't like that Google uses AI stuff now. I'm like, what is this?
I hate it. I start reading something and I'm like, wait, this doesn't sound like real English. Oh, this was written by AI.
This is interesting. Jeepers Creepers, a minced oath substitute for the phrase Jesus Christ.
That makes sense. Cheese and rice. Cheese and crackers.
Yeah. A euphemistic expression for something that is replacing a part of profane, blasphemous, or taboo word.
So like essentially these lyrics are like, Jesus fucking Christ, your eyes are fucking amazing. Holy shit, your eyes.
Holy shit. Holy, god damn it. I don't know if holy shit counts as a minced oath because like it's unless it's supposed to be Holy Spirit, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Because poop is not. I don't know.
I'm not
a linguist. It don't matter for me.
I am. That's the sad thing. Well, now I'm just thinking too of like, what it was like, Jesus Christ, your fucking eyes, they're amazing.
Where'd you get those eyes?
Where'd you get them? Where did you find them? Put those back. I always think of that joke from Addams Family Values. It's like, he has his mother's eyes, or his father's eyes. Gomez, take those out of his mouth. I was gonna say it actually premiered at a film fest in Germany before it had a US theatrical release.
Lord.
So that was it was also at a Canadian film festival as well. So it had its premiere internationally in July of 2001, and then August of 2001 it opened in the US. It opened at 2,944 theaters, and it stayed in release for 126 days. I feel like movies are not in theaters as long as they used to be. Is that just me?
Oh, no, they aren't, because by the time me and my husband think about going to see a movie, we're like, we'll just wait a month. It'll be out on DVD already. And that's true. Yeah, if they're in a if like the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer, when those came out, those actually ran like a standard, and I felt like they were in the theater so long. I was like, oh my god, like you could see Barbie for longer than a month. Wild.
Yeah, like we have patrons who come in and are like, well, I want this movie, can you order it for me? And I'm like, no, it's in theaters right now. Like, we don't have it. Well, when are you gonna have it? I'm like, I don't know anymore.
3 months. Wild.
I used to say, like, wait 6 months,
right,
and maybe we'll be able to order it for you. But now I don't know. Like, it might be in our system next month. I don't know when the DVD releases. Sorry.
We can ask coworker Scissorhands. Maybe they know.
I don't know if they know. I think they're just like, well, this is here now.
They're gonna hear this and be like, excuse me.
He's gonna be like, God damn it, Britta. I do important things. Stop selling me short.
See, I'm not selling but yeah, it made a record. It was one of the highest grossing movies for like Labor Day weekend, and it kept that record for a long time. I also liked in the generic of this, they were like, it got mostly some favorable reviews. It got a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, take that what you will. Mm-hmm. But some people liked it, and they said it was a very smart film, like Scream, comparing it to, which is high praise. Some people were like, it was too formulaic. I will give my opinions in a little bit. Oh, we should probably just talk about like the two, like, so Justin Long's in it, mm-hmm. which I think it's one of his earlier films.
Yeah.
And then Gina
Philips
is in it. And then they play brother and sister, which I won't lie, when I first saw them on the screen in the first 5 minutes, I was like, are they dating? They had a weird tension between them. What's happening? And I went, oh, they're siblings. Oh no. Ew. My husband was like, why did you make me?
Yeah, I don't know where you got like it from.
I think it was
because you did the same thing with the first Leprechaun, where you immediately assumed that Jennifer Aniston and her dad in that movie were a couple.
I've seen so many horror movies where it's just like they're automatically couples, and I probably read too many romance novels. I just put them together.
Yeah.
But I think it was also like Justin Long, the first shot you see of him, he's driving, he's got this like ring on his finger, and he's like, he looks very like, in terms of like very collegiate, as like, I'm a college student on spring break and I'm driving. I'm like, you're driving this old ass car. Like,
mm-hmm.
and
the biggest movie he had done before this was Galaxy Quest.
Oh, and he was like a baby in that.
Yeah, well, that was only 2 years before this came out. So like 2 years before that, he had filmed his first big movie.
Justin Long.
And then he followed this up the following year with Crossroads.
He was in Crossroads?
Yes.
Oh my god.
He's Henry.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
To put this in perspective, on IMDb, Jeepers Creepers has a 6.2 star Crossroads has 3.8. So this is higher rated than Crossroads.
Sorry, Brittany.
We love you, Brit.
I did definitely see Crossroads. I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I think my mom was like, no, we're not going to see that in theaters. But I did rent it on VHS.
This is our new standard. How does this rank compared to Crossroads, starring Britney Spears?
Oh. I think.
What is the most mediocre film you've ever seen?
That's a hard question.
That's what we're going to have to come back to. We're going to figure out what the most mediocre film we've ever seen is, and that is going to be the new standard by which we judge all other things.
Mediocre, do you mean?
It's like right down the middle. Like it's not terrible, but it's not good.
It's so hard. I'm so generous with my movie reviews usually.
Why the opposite thing is I give everything 3 stars. So everything is middle of the road to me.
Because even if I'm watching, and I've seen some straight trash, but even with the straight trash, I try to find something that vindicates, like, did I enjoy this film? Because there's some movies that, like,
I do that too. I'm like, I always find something I liked about everything.
Like, there's some movies where I'm like, straight trash, man, this was not good, but was it entertaining?
I just watched Night Swim.
Oh, yeah, that does look like straight trash.
Internet scuttlebutt had led me to believe that it was like I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it was going to be terrible, but it led me to believe that it was going to be like fun terrible, like where it's like, oh yeah, this movie is straight up garbage, but like it's a good time of garbage. And like it was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen, I think. Coworker Scissorhands and I watched it and we were, listen, I don't care. Please, I'll save you from having to watch Night Swim. The pool's fucking haunted. And there are ghosts in it. And they try to kill people, but they suck at it. Like, they sort of, like, gently, like, grab you, and they're like, I scared you, and they, like, try to drag you under, and then, like, you're just like, get off me, and you hit their hand away, and they're like, okay, goodbye, and they float back into the depths of the pool. Like, they don't try very hard to get anyone.
It just, like, the premise of that movie, and I just saw, like, a clip of it on, like, I don't know, some streaming or whatever. I saw it and I was like, oh, and it just reminded me of, there's this like bit on Family Guy where they're making fun of Stephen King and they're like, and it's his editor and they're like, Steve, what do you got planned? And he has
it's a lamp, a haunted lamp.
Yes, that was
it's gonna get you. Well, when I first saw the preview for it, it was like a teaser trailer. So it was just the one scene, and that scene is really creepy. So, like, good on them for using that. But then, like, all trailers now, it gives away all the scary stuff in the trailer. So there's, like, nothing new when you're watching it. But, like, it like, reminded me of that Are You Afraid of the Dark episode with the pool, with the creature.
Actually terrifying.
Right? And so
Wait, are you telling me that children's show, that 30-minute episode was scarier than this movie?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And like that scene is very scary, and it is like a very relatable thing of like 2 teenagers are swimming in a pool at night, and I'm like, man, nothing really beats like swimming in an in-ground pool with the lights on in it at night in the summertime is a very specific vibe. Yeah. And I dig it. But like they're playing Marco Polo and she's it, and he like gets out of the water, and so then you're like waiting in the tension and you can't hear anything, and every little noise is like terrifying to you. So like that was good, but then also same thing, like they were trying to do too much with it. There's like shit in the background that like people can't see that you're like, oh my god, there's like a thing over there, like the Ghosts and Mike Flanagan movies, but then like nothing comes of it. So then you're constantly like checking the background and there's nothing there. And then you got freaking Wyatt Russell, who like the first time you see him, he's got a cane. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how is this cane gonna come into things later? And then he's like a baseball player who's like rehabbing his injuries and his career got sidelined. And I'm like, unless this pays off in a Joaquin Phoenix swing for the fences moment, I don't understand why we had to do this. Like, it was so dumb. God. Anyway, that was a pretty dumb movie, and I think Jeepers Creepers is better than that.
I got nothing right now. I have good and bad thoughts about it. So, we didn't actually tell, like, did we tell a basic plot without giving
Not yet.
away?
We just kind of went into the technical stuff about it.
Let's tell them a basic plot line without giving anything away.
Okay, let me bring up, I feel like IMDb does a pretty bland synopsis of what it is. Give me one moment.
Blood Beach was not a very great movie. The sand was haunted. And it was sucking people into the sand.
You so quickly shit on the pool was haunted, and then you followed it up with the sand was haunted. It's the same thing.
Well, no, I think there might have been a critter living in the sand, but like people were being sucked into the sand.
That's fair.
This was also made in like the 70s.
That's also a real thing that happened recently. Like a little kid died in a sand hole at a beach. Like she got sucked in and she died.
Oh God. Anyways, that was not... The trailer was better than the actual movie, but it was also a 70s trailer, which those are good because they don't give everything away.
Yeah. That was before the In a World trailers.
Well, they just keep saying stuff. It's very similar to
It's like...
in
Gosh, Debbie, I'm so glad we're going steady. Isn't it romantic out here on the rocks? No, Johnny, let's go lay on the beach. It's softer.
Yes.
And then it's like... Did you hear that Debbie and Johnny died? They went missing. All they found were their bathing suits.
At Blood Beach.
Choom, choom, choom.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very similar to the fake trailer that was made for Thanksgiving and Grindhouse. Very same vibes. They actually do make DVD compilations of old schlocky trailers, and those are fairly entertaining to watch.
That's pretty fun. All right, so according to IMDb, I guess it's not as generic as I thought it would be. A brother and sister driving home through isolated countryside for spring break encounter a flesh-eating creature which is in the midst of its ritualistic eating spree. That's it, folks.
A ritualistic
eating spree. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's also pretty short. It's only 90 minutes long. So
yeah, it's a solid short horror movie. And there's never any part where you're like, wow, when is this movie gonna end? I think at one point, because it's not streaming anywhere. You would think it would be streaming Prime or Netflix or anything. It's on Tubi though. That's how I watched it. It was
on one of the streaming sites, one of the bigger ones, for a very short time. I don't know if they got limited rights when somebody else's expired or what, but I don't... Who released it? Who's the production house for it? It's MGM, right?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of MGM movies, distribution-wise, especially from the 90s and early 2000s, have weird things with streaming rights where nobody's ever gonna actually be able to own them.
They were made at a time when it was it's not so I don't know, the 70s and 80s, it's those movies are so old now that it's probably easier.
Also the era, this was not tied in with him, but of the Harvey Weinstein era, where all of the he owns the streaming rights to so many things, and all of that stuff is tied up legally because of him. So it's just hard. It's hard to work around that or get those released. So I don't know if it is a similar situation with this, or if it's just American Zoetrope, or what it is. But streaming rights are weird. Also, you don't own any of your digital media. So buy it if you want, but you can't keep it forever. They can take it whenever they want. Anyway.
That's why I got it on VHS.
Physical media forever.
Yep.
All right, so we are a good chunk into this. I'm not going to timestamp it because it'll be different when you listen to this, because I will add music to what we have right now and edit a lot of things. So I think at this point we can probably move into spoiler territory. Is that true?
I feel
okay. I didn't drink enough to actually be able to whistle. Wait, let's see. That's all I got. It's gonna be like the weakest, breathiest little whistles.
Yeah, so again, I went in this cold and wasn't sure what to expect. That being said, I hated the main characters like 90% of the film and was like, why are they so fucking stupid? Like, that was my complaint. Like the entire time. I kept turning to my husband and going, what the fuck? What? I'm like, have they never seen any horror movies ever? Have they never, like, I'm like, you have someone trying to help you and you're just like, shut the fuck up, and I'm not gonna talk to you, I'm gonna run away. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was the biggest source of frustration watching this film, was just watching them be dumb. And I'm like, because it's not a slasher film. It kind of feels like it could be a slasher film, but it's like not a slasher film. But it's also not a, it is very much a horror film, but it's like, it kind of feels like it has some slasher tropes in it, but it doesn't quite. But I'm just like, even in like basic horror movies, you always have, like, you have that one character that knows something, and then like you have the other characters being like, oh my god, yes, you know what I'm talking about. We're gonna talk. And that doesn't happen.
I don't know that this movie would work though with a character that was like, hey, this is a bad idea. Let's just keep driving home. Like, we'll just get a different ride. We'll take a bus. Like, that's really the only way out of this, like, logistically.
Right.
So, like, I think it's just, like, they have to be stupid for the plot of the movie to work, which is just what happens sometimes.
It was a very big source of frustration. I thought when you first are introduced, I was like, are they dating? And then I quickly realized that they were not, that they were siblings. My other like hot take is they're getting chased down by like the creeper. Mm-hmm. They pull into that they finally find civilization. They pull into that it's like a gas station / diner, which I'm like, I've been to one of those before, and and having that many people in there, and then like they're like, we need help, and everyone's just looking at them like, where are you from? What are you doing in this like diner? I'm like, if somebody comes up, they're bedraggled, they're bloody, the one person's shirt's ripped and stuff like that, and they say they need help. Why are you not helping them?
Well,
frustrating,
right? But also, like, we learn later some information that kind of explains that.
Yeah, it's just that was my biggest source of frustration, is like, just like, no, we're not helping. Like, and then I was fine with the ending. It just was what it was, because I think we had to pause it or something, and I was like, how long do we have left in this movie? And I was like, 15 minutes. Yeah. What are we getting done in 15 minutes?
Well, and I think like knowing that there was more that got cut, that explains a lot. But like, my thing with this is I think the beginning of the movie is pretty solid. Like,
it is, and like, there's no complaint from me other than like getting angry at Darry, Justin Long's character, being like, we need to go back, because they're driving. They have this old truck, essentially. Well, no, they're being dicks to that. First, it's almost foreshadowing. They're dicks to an RV that is driving by them. And I'm like, man, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick on a country road. You never know. You never know what people are going to do. You're pretty isolated. And then the creeper's truck comes up and start, like screwing around with them. And upon seeing that, like, they lose control of me. I was so mad at that too. I'm like,
yeah.
How the fuck do you not know how to drive? Also, your car is like so
kids
old.
And they're freaking out.
I guess. There's just like over too much. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay. And then they drive past. Now I'm like, maybe I'm so like, do on the road, making sure nothing, no deer, you're on a rural road. And they're like, oh, there's that truck. Oh, what's he doing?
No, see, here's the thing is I would absolutely be like them. Like if somebody is road ragey or shitty to me on the highway, I will like absolutely, if I see them again later, I will like fucking eyeball them into their soul to be like, I know what you did. Like you're an asshole and I almost want you to say something to me so I can cuss you out about it.
So, but then the question is, would you have gone back?
No, because I don't care enough about other people to go back and do that. I would literally drive away, and then when it was on the news later, I would be like, fuck, I drove past that shit, and there was someone alive in there for sure when I drove by, and they died. And I probably could have helped them, and now I feel guilty forever. But in the moment, I would not stop.
Because here's my thing. Were they really alive? Not really that alive. They were like mostly dead.
But they don't know that. They don't know that until they go back.
They don't know that. But they like are clearly pretty limp getting thrown down in this like tunnel, right? So you're like, all right, fair enough. But then like Justin, what if it was me? I'm like, don't guilt trip your sister. Don't guilt trip your sister. It's just the two of you, and you have no like cell phone reception / no battery right now. What the fuck are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what kills me is the sense of it. And I'm like, I don't know if I have finally gotten to be not ultra, but like street smart enough where like I have been told I am far too nice for my own good, but I also am not the type of person to seek out stuff. It's like when stuff gets asked of me, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I think if I would have saw that, I would have freaked out, but I wouldn't have gone back. I would have definitely gone to like the nearest city and been like, this is what I saw. You need to go like fix this.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not have gone back and investigated by myself. And I would not have gone down the tunnel.
Oh, absolutely not.
What are you doing?
But also, we're women. So
that's true. That's true. You know what? That's true. I think that's absolutely true. We're women. I think that's like night and day the difference because the sister doesn't want to go down that tunnel. Yep. She's like, no.
Yeah, because Darry has never had to cross the street because there was a dude walking and it was like dark out and he doesn't have to walk with his keys between his fingers. But you know who does? His sister, Trish.
Yes.
So, like, she gets it. She's like, I'm not gonna go down this fucking tube in the ground.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jesus. Beth just broke our setup. Listen, stop doing karate moves over there with your high kicks.
That was pretty high. I don't know how I did that.
Kakraka, Jesus. So, yeah. I mean, I think I solidly enjoy the majority of this movie, but it really is the third act that sucks about it. And so I'm like, I get it now. Like, knowing what I know about it, I get it. I get why it sucks. I do think it's infinitely scarier when you don't know what the creeper looks like.
Yeah,
it's,
I didn't.
Like you said, like it's always scarier when you don't know what's chasing you.
The scene where they finally get like somewhat of a look at him because he's like tearing the tongue out of somebody's face. That part's scary. I'm like, oh.
Is it? And now I'm confused because I didn't get to rewatch this one like I normally do. Is it in 1 or 2 where there's like the weird like winged part?
Oh no, that's in the first one at the end. Yeah.
Okay, so that look of the creeper and like I think the first initial like I think it's like in a field when you get a look at like the creeper's like mouth. like, I did see this in theaters. I was like a freshman in high school. And I remember going with my best friend to go see this. And we both had the same reaction to it, which, like, now it is like the loosest association to this. But we were both like, God, why did the creeper's face like look like a vulva? Like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be scared of that? Like, I'm supposed to be scared of your labia face?
That's
like,
funny.
Get out of here. Absolutely not.
Yeah, because the first look you get is really when it's like pitch black out and the spotlight's on and it's like silhouetted, so you see him but you don't see him, and he's pulling the tongue out of the cop's head. That part's chilling, and disturbing. And then I'm trying to think. We did laugh. There was a couple of parts of levity where he's like picking up the bodies, and I think that's the other frustration too. So you do get some lore, right? You get a little bit of lore, and like Darry, Justin Long's character, goes into this tunnel where he sees bodies being thrown down, and then upon being there, he like sees a mural of bodies that have been and I'm like, okay, Creeper, what are you doing with these bodies? You preserve them? We're just assuming, because we don't really get much out of it other than what Justin Long is seeing. But then when you find out the house, I was like, what was the point of saving everything if you just burnt it down so the cops can't see it?
Yeah.
What are you preserving them for? You eat what you want to eat, and then you don't need the rest. What are we doing? But we did laugh because he like goes to pick up the bodies, and he has the cop's body, and then he like has to pick up the head.
Yeah,
like I was like, this is
he
fine.
is like a little silly. Yeah, I always, my takeaway from that is that he like keeps, because like, you know, the first time you see the inside of this like place, like there's freaking like bodies and like skins and things like pinned to walls, and
it
like,
reminded me of, you haven't seen Hannibal. There's a scene in Hannibal that it was very akin to, but that was art.
Yeah.
It was art that this serial killer was doing.
So like the creeper is like preserving these parts, and the thing that I always took away from this is that you learn that an element of how he hunts his victims is through smell, and that he can smell the fear, and that's how he finds you. Right. So to me, that is like okay, this is like section B of my plan of like, all right, if like running them down on the road doesn't scare them enough that I can get their scent and track them, then luring them to my house and they see this shit is gonna scare the fuck out of them, and then I got them. You know what I mean? Gotcha. Like, that's kind of how I took, like, most of what he did was to like get that scent of fear from people. Okay. So while it was not necessary to him like hunting people or surviving, it was like an element of like, all right, let's go. Let's get them fear hormones pumping. Let me get that blood pumping through those organs, and then I'm going to eat them. Like, you know what I mean? So
it's just, I don't know. I'm just thinking about how like John Wayne Gacy used to paint pictures.
Yeah.
And then I thought about in Street Fighter, Raul Julia plays a bison in that, and he's supposed to be super evil, and in his layer he has like a John Wayne Gacy-esque painting, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, why has nobody ever talked about that? I was like, is it to show fear through like your bad art? And then I thought back to Hannibal, because Hannibal sees what this serial killer's doing, and he like looks down and he goes, I love your work.
That's funny.
It's Mads Mikkelsen.
That's funny.
Oh God, my brain is not. We're not pumping at 100 today. I want to badly, but it's not happening. Yeah. Why?
Is your blood pumping now? Did I scare you?
A little bit. A little bit. I think it's all the yard work I did today. My allergies are like, hey, what's up?
no hunting fear scent for you.
No. I guess that makes sense.
And that's also why I think like the creepy ass song keeps getting pulled, because it's like that's another scary thing. So it's like maybe the creeper has realized over its lifespan, like, different things scare people differently. Let me just employ the tactics till I find the one that works.
So then we get a little bit of lore, and then they're like at that gas station, they get the mysterious phone call.
Yes.
And you get somebody who is like, hey, I know what you saw. And like talking to Justin Long's character, who we the audience know, was down in this creep's lair. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, no, like, fuck you. And he hangs up the phone.
I don't know. I got frustrated. It too. Like, yes, we as the audience are like, what the fuck, bro? Like, come on. But I also, like, in that situation, I would just be like, this whole town is fucking with me at this point. Like, how do I not know that that's that truck driver's wife or like daughter or something?
Fair. They did not identify themselves on the phone. They just started talking.
And talking about like a cat lady and the creepy fucking song. So I'm like, to me, none of that makes any sense, but I've already been screwed with like in this place.
Right.
And nobody's like really taking me seriously. So like, maybe I'm just in this hellhole of an armpit town and everyone here is a douchebag. So, like, I'm not gonna fuck with you.
But the other, like, speaking of getting fucked with, then, like, after all that happens, having the waitress go, somebody messed with your laundry in your car. I'm like, none of you all watched that happen. Mm-hmm. None of you wanted to be like, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
That was frustrating.
Well, that's the thing though, is I think like, so the element of information we find out about the lore of this creeper is that in 1978 the creeper killed like a couple who were going to prom.
Right.
And so there are like images of like victims essentially that we see at some point, and you get this knowledge that the creeper emerges every 23rd spring for 23 days to feed on human body parts and essentially uses those body parts to like regenerate itself.
Yum.
Right? Which is why we chose to discuss this movie this year, because it came out in 2001. It is now the 23rd spring since this movie has come out.
Yuck.
So I don't know. I didn't check to see if there were like any surges of missing people in the last few months or what, but
not that I know of.
Yeah.
Also, maybe we're complicit, but we also don't live in the most rural of areas.
No.
It's pretty suburban. Yeah, and I don't make a habit of driving on super rural roads because I don't like that there's no lights.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
That's what I always think of driving at night past like creepy, like back in like October when coworker Scissorhands and I were coming back from Columbus and I was like, we are going to get murdered. We are absolutely going to die on this drive. Is I always think of like the creeper fucking running out of like a field and chasing after us and doing that weird like monster leap on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even do anything because even if I run you over, like we saw that. Trish ran him over a shit ton of times.
She did.
And he didn't die. He just had wings that freaking popped out. She like hit his reset button. Like so stupid.
I also was mad because I was like, ma'am, you didn't even try to hit his head.
Right.
I was like, if we're going to run over something a multitude of times to try to kill it, why aren't you aiming for its head?
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, Chris Platt. You also have a very old car, and older cars weigh more because, you know, they were made differently. So I'm like, it's got the guts. It might be stalling for a few minutes because the creeper hit your car, but like, it's got the guts. You're revving it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Basic math. What are we doing? But then that's the question too. Like, say she did like cut its head. Like, we didn't get that information. Nobody knows how to stop.
I don't know if it like does anything. It might just grow a new head.
How?
Tiny little head, and then over time it'll grow into the right size.
Like Beetlejuice. Tiny little head. Yeah. So that, like, I didn't hate it. I I think I was just so angry at these two stupid kids for like a good chunk of the movie that when like it finally kind of settled at the end, I went, oh, and I think I was just mad again at the stupidity of the characters, because I'm like, you are in a police station. You don't want to grab a gun? You don't want to grab, like, nothing. We're not grabbing anything of value. We're not even grabbing flashlights.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I was just very frustrated with the stupidity, which I do understand. I guess plot-wise, you do have to, like, make this somewhat believable. And I think a movie like this now wouldn't do as well. You would have to have the element of, like, no cell phones and no technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an interesting choice to have such an old car, but now I'm like, you wouldn't even be able to have like a 1941 truck on the road, because like it would be too old.
Yeah. I mean, in the car they're driving, it's like old, but I think again, like that's the only way that would work today, because otherwise everybody has like OnStar,
right?
Or like satellite something built into their car,
right.
Or like if something happened,
maybe
my car doesn't, but my car's old.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say my car doesn't have OnStar, I don't think so. But like any newer cars, you wouldn't be able.
Or
to
you
do
can
that.
charge your phone in your car.
You can
so
charge
like your phone
yeah.
wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, you know my. That did tickle me. You know my lighter doesn't work.
Yes. Yeah. I do love the element of the vanity license plate though, because like it reads BEATNGU, which yes, on first glance you'd be like, beating you? What a fucking dickhead. Like, you're not beating shit in your crusty old truck. Stop tailgating me.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone. Please go back to your farm. Get out of here. And then later, when you realize it's be eating you,
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. You're a psycho human eating creature, but you're also really cocky about it.
I feel like we haven't said anything directly about the ending. I do think one of the red herrings was kind of sloppily done, in terms of, so they do meet a character who she's like somewhat psychic. They make it very hard to believe her too, because the first, like, when you meet her in person, the first thing the police does is like, oh, she's like a wackadoo who once helped us solve one case. Like, don't listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, we're already setting up. And she's also a person of color. So I was like, wow, we're really setting this up not great.
Yeah.
But it was just frustrating because she, like, I just felt like, and maybe there was a little bit of time, but I'm like, you could have given those characters so much more information and you didn't tell them every single thing. And like, I don't know, I felt like it could have been told more clearly maybe or something, but you know, they do insinuate like, are your dreams 100% correct? Like, are they always accurate? And she doesn't answer. And it makes you think like, yeah, like it is, and we're just like, we gotta deal with this reality. So I don't know. It was just frustrating. That was probably my biggest. It was the frustration of the lack of communication between characters, because I'm like, I think I was expecting it to be kind of a creature feature where they're trying to fight against it, and so the fact that they were just being like hunted,
their prey, yeah,
and the only little modicum of like you get is when she's running over the creature, and you're like, okay, and then I was like, there's no way this is over. I felt like this was very much like it wasn't over. So I was like, why are we, like, you didn't go out to like run it over its head. You didn't go over to check, like, is it dead? Like, you didn't run it over like 4 or 5 more times.
Our girl was just doing her best in the moment.
I guess. I was like, no double tapping. I get you haven't seen any zombie movies yet. They're going to take off real soon.
We talked about how the song is like the influence for the title.
Right.
The working title for this was Here Comes the Boogeyman. Okay. I like Jeepers Creepers better.
Well, Jeepers Creepers has more of a ring to it, right?
But so, when this was released internationally, it was either like they didn't get the reference or it didn't like translate rhyming wise. So, the other names internationally for this were in Mexico, it was called Road to Terror or The Devil. In Venezuela, it was called The Messenger of Satan.
I like that one.
In Argentina, it was called The Terror Exists.
That was probably the closest to like the vibe.
In Belgium, it was called Dead of Fear. Like you died from fear.
Yeah, again fits the vibe.
In Brazil, it was called Hungry Eyes. Which then just makes me think of Hungry Eyes.
I love that song.
I'll look at you and I'll eat your thighs.
Oh god.
Okay. In Hungary, it was called Who Hides Who Doesn't. In Romania, it was called Darkness. In Serbia, it was called Scary Scarecrow.
God. I wanted to be called Scary Scarecrow.
So France and Italy both called it the Devil Song, but in their own respective languages. So it's
interesting.
Le Chant du Diable and Il Canto del Diavolo. And then Germany, it was called Dinner is Served. And in Poland, it was called Gourmet.
Oh my god. How did they allow so many? Man, I would be so angry to look up this title in any other language but English at this point. How did we like get such a wide variety? So did like France and Germany like watch this and be like, Jeepers Creepers is the name of a song. We'll call it the Song of the Devil.
Maybe.
No big deal.
Or they were like, oh, well, there is a song and he like uses it to like foreshadow that you're gonna die.
But then Germany's like, oh, it eats people? Dinner is served.
Poland's like, he eats strange foods. Gourmet.
Like, wildly Scary Scarecrow. That at least there's a scene with a scarecrow and it's scary. So that one at least is semi-accurate.
Yeah.
And it conveys kind of the same sense of whimsy as Jeepers Creepers, but more whimsical, less scary, even though the word scary's in it.
Yeah. The church in this, the one that was in Ocala, it was the St. James Church, and it like was not a working church when they were filming. Like it had been, like boarded up for years, and they filmed there because they're like, this is super creepy. It's pretty like isolated. And so it was like not on the same road where they filmed all the other driving sequences, so they had to like make it look that way. But after the movie came out, like a few years later, the church and like a bunch of trees around it were burned to the ground and they suspected arson. And it's never been proven, so legally you can't sue me. I'm just repeating other alleged things. No one's saying you did this, all right? No one's saying any. All right, allegedly. I'll say that again. Allegedly.
Legal.
Suspected. Allegedly, George Steinbrenner was behind it. Do you know who he is?
No.
He is the former owner of the New York Yankees.
Oh.
Because he owned a horse farm nearby. It was like just to the south of it. And he got pissed that so many horror fans were like driving down there to go like visit this movie site. So allegedly he burned it so they wouldn't come around anymore.
Wow.
Allegedly.
So let's talk about that third act. So we know, so the original ending, I don't want to say that ending out loud in case people want to watch it.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it. But
the original ending is, I will tell you, when you get to the police station, and that's kind of the third leg of it, and it wraps up very quickly from the police station. Like there's maybe 20 minutes of the film left. And when you are watching it, it does feel like, as I said, like I think I took like a bathroom break and then like unpaused it, and I was like, there's only 15 minutes left. Like, wait, what? I'm like, how are we wrapping all this up in 15 minutes? That's wild. So it does feel a little abrupt from there. It does have a beginning, middle, and end. It is like wrapped up. The ending feels a little rushed compared to the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm. Well, the original version of the script, the way it was supposed to end, is that Trish and Darry, they like escape the police station. They steal the creeper's truck.
Amazing.
He chases after them. He hops on the truck.
Amazing.
Trish cuts his head off, but it doesn't kill him. And headless, he keeps trying to pull Darry out of the truck until Darry drives it onto a train track. It's hit by a train. The truck explodes, and both Darry and the creeper die.
Oh, I would have liked that ending. That actually would have been goddamn amazing. I would have said, Jeepers Creepers, that's amazing.
Holy shit! Jesus fucking Christ! His eyes exploded.
Yeah, that would have been actually a really cool like ending, and that would have felt very justified and like more satisfying. Yeah. It makes me sad that they didn't.
I mean,
go with
I'm
that
okay
ending.
with it because I like the sequel, so I'm okay that there's like room for another part of the story to be told. But, yeah, it is that the third act is the weakest part of this film. I would agree with like everybody, but. Again, it's not how it was supposed to end. It's supposed to go a different way. Things didn't work out well.
They made do with what they had.
Yes.
And improvise the rest.
Yes. So the other thing is like I don't really care that we don't know like truly what the creeper is. Like I'm kind of cool with not knowing. He's just scary.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't need to know like
there are like a lot of people that want to be like, "Oh, well, he's a W word from Native American lore, and that's why, like, he's eating people." No, and I
never took it as that.
Well, also, like, let's stop doing that. Let's stop equating any, like, instance of cannibalism or, like, eating a human with, like, this lore that has, like, been bastardized by non-native people. Like, let's just leave that alone. All right, we've done enough to them. Stop talking about the W word.
Yeah, I didn't take it as that, and I did feel like once you found out that it was like paranormal in a way, I was like, why use a truck at all, buddy, if you can just like demon hop and you have wings. You have wings. Why hop anywhere? Or why drive anywhere? Mm-hmm. I'm like, maybe it makes getting the bodies harder for point A to point B.
I guess.
But I don't need that part of the lore because all we know is that it's like scary and it's a creature. The lore I feel like is just like what would have like did it more for me. Well, one, if the main characters would have just listened, that would have having them have a little bit of common sense and not driven. I guess they're driven by fear, right? And fear makes people stupid. But just having like a little bit of a stop and breathe moment of like, what are we going to do? And like, how do we like prepare ourselves? Like, you don't get that at all. There's no real like attaboy, attagirl type of thing until she like runs him over. And even that is so brief.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish we would have had something more like that, and we didn't get that. And I guess I wish we would have just, the communication would have been better. Where that's what I'm like, I don't need to know if it, like, you know, if it's like a vampire and it can't be in the sunlight or something like that. But like even with insinuating, like, it's a 20, like, what day is it? But it's 23-day eating spree. Is it day 1? Is it day 22?
Right.
We don't know that.
Right. Well, and then in the second film, that does have a moment of sort of being addressed, which I do like. The second film feels much more contained. It primarily takes place on a school bus. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of works well for this, because part of like what you're saying is like, why didn't they just like keep going? Like, why didn't you just find any way to get out of here and leave? Like, in the second one, they can't. Like, they cannot get away. They are trapped with them. We already know like what he's capable of, so it does like heighten the tension. But the ending of the second film takes place now in 2024.
Oh no.
And there is like a sideshow attraction called a Bat Out of Hell that is like a reference to the Creeper. I'm not gonna like spoil anything by getting too specific with it, but there's a character who is involved in the plot line of the second movie who's like sitting there watching the Creeper with a harpoon, and they're like, "What are you waiting for?" He goes, about 3 more days, give or take a 2. Like, I'm waiting, I'm tracking it, like, first day of spring, whatever, like, I'm gonna end this shit.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
So you do get a little bit, and also your boy's in it, Ray Wise is in it. Yeah. So
I do love Ray Wise.
Mm-hmm. And for all of the supernatural girlies, original Meg, Nikki Acox is also in
is
it.
She?
Yeah. So there's that.
I forgot they replaced her.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, that's kind of all I got on this one.
Yeah, it wasn't, I would not call it mediocre. I would say it was better than I expected. The ending,
it certainly feels like an early 2000s horror movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, this was the era of, like, I used to watch this and like Wrong Turn a lot.
Oh god, they're both, well,
they're very sweaty movies.
I was gonna say they're both so sweaty and like dirty. Like, I was like, good god. Like when Justin Long falls down the stupid shaft, I was like, they just straight up say like, it smells in here. I'm like, why would you put your face in there? And you know it stinks.
I feel the same way about him. Like that scene and the like physical sensation it gives me in my body is the same as when in House of Wax, the remake, when he's like covered in, like, or she's in it and like the nasty shit, and he like gives her his wife beater because she's just covered in like a disgusting dead animal carcass. Like, same feeling, same vibe.
Yeah, I just you can clearly tell it smells like death down there. Yeah. Why would you stick your head in there?
I don't know. He's
Men.
the type of person too that's like, wow, this dumpster smells terrible. Come smell it.
Men.
Blech.
So, yeah, I mean, that's all I got on it. It was certainly a different type of horror movie. So if you're looking for something that straddles or toes the line between a creature feature and like a slasher movie, and it kind of has elements of both, this would be worth a watch. If you want kind of, I guess you could watch the first 2 at least, and then get kind of more of the lore.
Yeah, there's also a comic series that ties in with it, that gives you more backstory to the creature. It also is like weirdly tiptoeing into like appropriative territory, but that's also a sign of the times. Like, we know better now. So But yeah, there is a comic that like if you end up watching this and you actually like really enjoy it and you are like, I need more of this, and you want, I mean, I don't remember the third one, so I can't give you any insight on that. I didn't want to see the reboot because it felt like a totally different vibe. But you could read the comics.
And if you just want to see baby Justin Long in a horror movie, like, worth watching.
Yeah, you could do like a really weirdly connected double feature night. And you could make like themed food. Like maybe you could make little like mozzarella eyeballs.
Stop it.
And like I don't know, I can't think of a food to go with the second movie. But you could start with Jeepers Creepers and you could end with Barbarian.
I haven't seen Barbarian yet, but it's on my watch list.
The scene of Justin Long, the first scene you see him in this movie, is the most jarring fucking thing I've experienced in a movie in years. I felt like something was wrong, and like I got a weird like DVD that had been spliced between two movies.
Jesus. All right. Well, I'm definitely. I remember when it came out, I was pregnant, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I need to watch," and I just didn't get around to watching it. I think I watched *Malignant* instead. Completely different movie. But yes, I would like to see that. But Justin Long does not have happy endings in horror movies, period. I have not seen a movie where I'm like, all right, okay, Justin, good for you. Except for maybe in Dodgeball. That's not a horror movie.
It's
but
not
like,
a horror movie.
Yeah, this guy does not fare well in horror movies.
I think he's just got one of those faces. Like, you want to root for him because he's like kind of like a puppy dog.
He's
like
an
he's
underdog, yeah.
He's sort of endearing. He's kind of awkward. He feels like a normal guy.
But then, like when he's in romantic comedies, he's like a douchebag.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. I think he has like undercover douchebag face. Where it's like, oh man, like that guy seems really cool, and then like you go out to eat with him and he's just like, fuck that, I'm not tipping her, she didn't do shit. Like it's one of those kind of faces. Do you know what I mean? Like undercover douchebag.
No, I'm not gonna want to see him in any movies.
I'm not saying he does that. He's probably a really nice guy. I've never heard anything bad about him.
But now I'm thinking about like in Drag Me to Hell and stuff like that, because he doesn't get it, but it doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah,
but he's kind of an undercover douchebag in that movie.
I think that's what it is he just has one of those faces. And
in this movie, like when you first meet him, like I'm like, oh, he's a little bit cocky, like he's driving this car, and you know, and then he starts doing like very little brother like energy to his sister, like, oh, what did your poli-sci boyfriend? I'm like, stop. If she wanted to talk to you, she would. Why are we driving down this country road?
I don't want to say that I'm onto something here because I know at least one person who's contrary to this, but maybe it's a Justin thing, because Justin Bartha also has like he's very cute, and he is like very endearing and charming and very like, you know, like self-deprecating, but then he kind of also has an undercover douchebag vibe. Like he can kind of be. So I'm like not saying this is a standard Justin across the board.
Please,
I have evidence to the contrary.
Please keep iterating that.
I know at least one very good Justin who's not a secret douchebag. But now I'm a little concerned. I'm concerned about this.
Maybe it's just in films.
This data I'm finding.
At the Lake Erie Library, we'll have to do some more
who are other
digging.
Actors named Justin? I mean, Justin Timberlake is like a confirmed undercover douchebag.
Yes.
Like I do like him and think that he gets an undue amount of hate, but I do think that like he has done douchebaggy things.
I have a different opinion. I think he's just straight up douchebag, but I've felt that way for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like a lot of other shit though that like I see both sides of most of those situations. So I'm like, you have recognized your ways and apologized. We can't just say that people are done forever. Cancel culture is not great.
I agree. That's not how I don't want to get into this whole thing. But anyways, we'll have to think about it. We'll have to compile a list of Justins in entertainment and then go,
Yeah.
And then figure it out. But who knows? I will laugh if this is the one thing that people listen to, and then somehow it goes on TikTok before it's banned and it gets viral, and then that's what we're known for, is the Justin douchebag theory.
Justin Bieber.
Oh my God, stop it. Maybe?
Justin Hartley?
I don't know Justin Hartley. Maybe I do though. He looks, yeah, I could see it.
I feel like my world has been rocked right now. He's so good at playing, like, everybody likes him because he's such a good looking guy, and then like he is so good at playing like sort of a selfish asshole on like This Is Us. Justin Chatwin? The list grows. Justin Theroux.
No.
Oh no. I need a moment.
Wait, who did you pull up?
No, Justin Theroux is the last one, and that one really hurts.
It does hurt.
I don't like this data. We're gonna...
You can't... That's not how science works. We can't fudge the numbers.
I don't like it.
That's not how science works. Sometimes we find out answers that we didn't want.
I know. Oh, no.
That means our hypothesis is maybe correct. We have to do some further research.
All right. What if we find out that like everyone we've ever hated was actually known like their first name was Justin, but they went by their middle name or something like that?
That would be so hysterical.
Or contrary to that, what if none of these guys are actually named Justin and they all have a first name and they go by their middle name? And then like the Justin we know that is actually named Justin, that's why they're contrary to this.
Oh, because it's their first name.
Because it's like fake Justins.
I will have to find out. Like that's science, man.
Shit.
Listen, this is making me excited. I was like, data, research, science.
We'll make
graphs?
a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheets?
I love a spreadsheet.
Yes, let's do this. What did I go to college for? Science? Let's do some science.
Here's the problem, though, is that we've gone on this whole thing, and I'm like, I love a spreadsheet. We'll make a spreadsheet. We'll investigate this further. But I'm not going to have time because I'm going to have to do damage control over what's just come out of my mouth.
Yep.
All Justins but one.
Heard it from Britta, not from Beth. Beth is just here for the data.
I did say that I feel like I've reached bi-wife potential where I'm like, ugh, men, they all suck. Except for this one. He's the only good one.
Is it your true form?
It's my true form. I've finally evolved to my final form. I'm now a Charizard.
I don't know. I didn't actually collect Pokemon.
I don't know anything about Pokemon. I know 3 of their real names and the rest of them are like Angry Fart. Like
I think Charizard
Flame
is the
Pony.
Evolution of Charmander.
Rock Guy.
Charmander's the cute one. So Charizard would be, but that I don't think that's
Booby
the final.
Muppet. Like I just make up names for what they look like. Radish Guy. Dead Fish.
Oh. I know those aren't their names.
Leaf Monkey.
Guys, please don't come for us because neither of us were into Pokemon.
I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of weeb. I'm the other kind of weeb.
Trash.
Beth just called me trash. You haven't noted? We're gonna fight now.
Yep. Oh, my brain is so tired, so broken today.
Okay, well, then we're just gonna pack it up.
Yep.
I'm gonna say thanks to our spooky sponsor.
Thank you, spooky sponsor. I don't like this.
And then, go drive on a rural highway. Have a fight with your sibling. Don't charge your phone. Get a vanity license plate. Put prosthetics on your face and dive into like dumpster tubes.
I don't. Why wash your clothes if you're going home for spring break. Like, maybe don't leave your dirty laundry in like a trash bag.
Don't leave a scent trail.
Yeah. Weird.
Shave all your body hair.
When you said shave all your body hair, I was then picturing Justin Long with no hair.
Oh, I was picturing like, Frank from Always Sunny when he's like covered in Vaseline.
I just want to be pure.
I just want to be pure. Yeah, and that's what we got for this week. So,
yeah, guys.
Bye-bye.
Stay spooky, friends.